One thing I do remember very clear, to be honest, and to share with young people out there, is I had no freaking clue what I was going to do with my life till I was a junior in uni.
Darren Aronofsky is an American film director, producer and screenwriter. His films are known for their surreal, melodramatic and often disturbing storytelling. He often explores such emotionally charged topics as identity, addiction, mental health and morality. Aronofsky has cemented his place as one of the most daring and original voices in contemporary cinema. In this video we're gonna explore the mind of this visionary filmmaker and get inspired by his most insightful interview moments.
I want people to have an experience like they've never had at the cinema. That's, for me, like the greatest gift possible, is people just being, moved to talk.
Those are the films that inspired me, the ones that people leave and you're just breaking down and figuring out and seeing different layers and, seeing all the different ways of thinking about something. Fear for me is to be a disposable piece of cinema that, it's like a McDonald's meal and the wrapper goes in the trash and 2 hours later you're like, what did I see?
I'm trying to make, products that are well crafted and have a lot of depth that people will cherish.
Darren Aronofsky began his career as a student filmmaker at Harvard, where he directed and produced a number of short films. His debut feature film Pi was made on a budget of just $60,000 and was picked up for distribution at the Sundance Film Festival.
We made it black and white, we made it what it was because of that limitation. And so every film is kind of constrained and constructed out of how much money you have. As soon as you start messing with the money end of things, you suddenly get more time, and then time just changes everything, because it's all about how much you could get done in a day and how many days you have. Rule number one is you don't bore an audience. You have to, even if they're not enjoying themselves or they're off, as long as they're engaged and they're with the character and they're following the plot and they're not sort of staring off into space or thinking about their second screen, that's our goal. And that's the how do we keep people from watching movies at home without a second and sometimes third screen, which is happening everywhere. And the only way to do that is to keep it coming and to engage emotionally.
He directed and produced the highly acclaimed film Black Swan, starring Natalie Portman, which received 5 Academy Awards nominations, including Best Director.
People are getting a lot of different things out of Black Swan. For me, the biggest compliment, the most people come out and they say it was fun. And that to me is kind of, I've never heard that before on one of my films, and that actually, maybe that's why it's doing so well here in America, because people are enjoying themselves. So, but I'm definitely inspired from the Cyclone roller coaster in Coney Island where I grew up, which is the greatest ride in the world. And I've always tried to construct my films in the same structure, which is just intense on the edge seat. So if that's what someone's asking, I'm very happy that people are, feeling.
One of the things I love most about filmmaking is working with actors. For me, this was a pure focus on working with performance and putting the camera in the right place.
I think when I work with actors, that's the only thing I can judge is the actor performing in front of the camera, in front of me, being honest. I think it's also in choosing these characters. I try to find characters that are different, but that are very, very real. And also unexpected. To me, that's a really exciting thing. It's like, how do you get into the head of a ballerina? How do you get into the head of a wrestler? How do you get into the head of Charlie, the recluse of this movie? And remind us that even though we all have different journeys, we're actually all very, very similar in lots of ways.
That's what I love about cinema. One of the greatest things is that you can be transported into characters that if you pass them on the street, you would not see yourself in them. But if you spent a little time with them, they're suddenly, wow, very, very similar to yourself. I just made a film about a 13-year-old girl coming of age in a favela in Brazil, a film called Pacified, a beautiful little movie. And you are that girl for the 2 hours that you watch that movie. Generally, the characters that I am attracted to in scripts are complicated characters with very complicated morality, and they often have to have a lot of self-humor and self-critique and be willing to put themselves out there emotionally. And you want to find actors that want to go there. And they're kind of like flowers, to open up a actor is to reveal their heart. And if they get burnt, they get nervous and scared. So you have to find the actor who's like not worried about that right now and wants to really be really wants to shine and go for it. I'm kind of lucky at this point because I've done it enough time that actors trust me that I'm going to take care of them. But as a young director, and what I would say to young filmmakers if they're listening, is you just spend time and you're very, very honest with them about what you're trying to accomplish. You don't play games, and you say what you really want to go for, and they then have to decide in their grown-up ways if they want to do that.
You know, I grew up in the Spielberg, George Lucas era, so film was this incredible thing. But I think I always had a taste for alternative film, and so the filmmakers like Spike Lee and Jim Jarmusch and European filmmakers like Fellini and Kurosawa were big influences as well, and kind of expanded to me what film could be. Because I grew up, you know, very much on just normal Hollywood fare.
What is the movie that made you finally realize that there was someone behind the camera who was calling the shots and made you want to do that same thing?
It was probably seeing Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. Being from Brooklyn and just seeing something that I could understand that was very, very personal, but it seemed to be working on a international scale. Kind of gave me the idea that you can just tell a small story and connect with people all over the world. If you're a 7-year-old girl in Iran, or you know, a 50-year-old guy in Australia, if it's a human story, it's human. It was clear to me he wanted to work, and it was clear to me he wanted an opportunity to show what he could do. It was also clear that he hadn't had that opportunity for a very long time to really work. And I knew that not only emotionally was playing Charlie an extremely difficult task, but technically it was hard because there was 5 hours of makeup a day, which means he worked 5 hours more than every single other person on the set. And he was in every scene. So, I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 days he had off in the amount of time we shot.
That's something.
That's a lot of work, yeah.
I had no freaking clue what I was going to do with my life till I was a junior. And every day I'd be walking around going, when's it going to happen? When's it going to click for me? When am I going to know? Because the stress starts to happen in college. You're like, oh, I'm going to be getting out of here soon, and I'm going to have to get a job, and I got to have to pay back, you know, all these things things I owe. But it was that fear that was there, that waiting for that to click. And the answer to it is, I'm not going to say like, oh, filmmaking showed up and that was the click and it made sense. It wasn't an overnight thing. I just started working in film, and I just enjoyed it. And then I just found myself more and more time spending it. But I still, at that age, had no idea what a director was. Probably right. I'm 19, 20 years old, and I still don't know what the F I'm going to do with my life.
I hope this video inspired you for your own artistic journey. If you're an aspiring filmmaker and want to know more about the world of art, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you soon!